Hey everyone, Sam the hasn't uploaded in an entire month critic here, and today I'm coming back with my review of the new Flume mixtape. Hi, this is Flume. I've known about Flume for quite a while, ever since 2014 I think, when he dropped his EP with Chet Faker. I didn't really pay too much attention to him, but in Australia he's quite a big name. You know, some of his tracks are huge, like songs like Say It featuring Tovla are still being played on the radio quite a lot. And I can definitely see his influence, like, I cannot go one Virgin Australia flight without seeing a Flume album. But yeah, Flume's pretty cool. I haven't actually heard any projects up until This Is Flume, but from what I've heard so far, I'm kind of liking his style. You know, Flume's kind of like this wonky future-based artist who makes wonky future-based music. And from what I can tell, he kind of mixes that with a more mainstream sound, like in 2016 Skins. I've heard one track from that album, which is, of course, Say It featuring Tovlo. I don't actually mind that track. It's kind of dizzying, but also still appeals to the mainstream. And this is his new mixtape, Hi, This Is Flume, which I was kind of intrigued at when I saw it on Twitter. He was, you know, promoting it and stuff because it was about to come out. I was like, this is gonna be pretty interesting. Then I saw the features, you know, I had Sophie, JPEG Mafia, and then I just clicked play on Spotify, because, you know, we got a, full-time JPEG Mafia stan here. Very nice to meet you. But yeah, let's get on to review. The sound of this album is crazy experimental. It's wonky, off the wall, all over the place, glitched out. It's crazy experimental. I guess it's kind of the point of wonky music. I should not be hired to review wonky music. Yeah, this review is gonna suck. I think this album is kind of where he's just free to unleash all his skills because he's not really kept in the boundaries of the mainstream. Considering this is a mixtape, he's free to just like try everything, you know, get all experimental, throw all his tricks at the wall, just unleash everything that he's got in stock. And it's kind of what makes this album much more inaccessible than some of his previous works. You know, this is just kind of his most experimental project from what I'm aware of. And, you know, I'm kind of a sucker for that sound, so this is gonna be a very positive review. I can just tell that Flume just had a lot of fun making this mixtape. His personality just shines so well through the production. You can just tell that he had so much fun composing all this stuff. The sounds used in this album are very industrial, very Sophie inspired, if you've heard of her. Wait, she was a co-producer for this album. But that's not saying much, is it? The album usually uses a lot of very glitched out and distorted high-pitched sounds, sometimes to an absolute extreme to the point where it can give a casual listener a headache. I think this is kind of the point of wonky music, you know, to be wonky. It's like if you had a rap album that sounded like Michael Bublé easy listening. Like, where are you gonna find that? The sounds of this album, again, very industrial. The drums on the album usually very bassy and distorted, or just absolutely hard as hell. There are occasionally a lot of ambient sounds used in this album to give a very dreamy break to the wildness and wonkiness of the album, such as Wormhole, Spring, Jewel. And probably some of my favorite sounds used in this album are the voice samples, which just add to such a dizzying and wonky experience. Now, I'm just gonna warn you guys, I'm gonna be saying my favorite tracks quite a lot throughout this review, because there are a lot of favorite tracks in this album. It's kind of like in my JPEG Mafia veteran review where I just kept saying unorthodox. So yeah, just beware. Just as a full listen, it's such a very mind-melting experience, especially since every track just fades into each other. Kind of what the atmosphere I get from this album is like, let's say you're in a long car drive and everything's just glitching out. Wait a second. That's the visualizer for this mixtape. Lad made an entire visualizer for the mixtape. Shout out to you, Flume, because damn, that must have taken a lot of work. Wait, FKA Twigs did that too? Shut up. There are several different types of songs on this album, some being the industrial, hard-hitting bangers, like Ecdysis, Vitality, much more fleshed out and explorative songs like Spring and Jewel, the ambient chilled out tracks like Dreamtime, Wormhole, Mud, which is some of my favorites on the album. Like I said, I'm gonna say that a lot. And, well, I want to get into this, but the bangers. When I mean the bangers, I mostly mean, like, you know, the bangers with the features. And I'm gonna start that with track 3, High Beams. So High Beams features UK rapper Slow Thigh, and when I heard it, this was basically my initial reaction. I think you can kind of see where I'm going with this. Just imagine that, but I'm violently thrashing the chair onto the bed. Like, you know, smashing it into tiny little pieces. Then there's a massive earthquake and explosion, and then Slow Thigh just comes into my house and starts whacking me with a jackhammer. What? Basically, just to sum up what I mean by Slow Thigh's feature, this is what I wrote in the script for Slow Thigh's verse. Yep, that's about it. I think you kind of get the message already. Yeah. Then you've got the JPEG Mafia featured track, How to Build a Relationship. Definitely one of my favorites on the album. Peggy's not as aggressive and brutal as he usually is, but his personality just shines really heavily through this track. I love it. I think my favorite part about this track is just the ending of it is just him screwing around, saying the most random stuff. Peggy, please never change. Please don't sell out like The Who. Sophie features on 2 tracks on this album, one of them being Voices, which is a very wholesome track on this album. Then comes my one problem with this album, and that comes in the remix of Sophie's track, Is It Cold in the Water. Now, I don't mind this track per se, I think it's alright to say the least, but I just think it's very stretched out and a little bit tedious. Like, the hook just repeats on, and there's really not much going on in the song, except the build up to the hook just getting louder and louder and louder. Despite the fact it fades into How to Build a Relationship, so I'm basically forced into listening to it. Anyway, time to gush over specific songs. So the album starts with Hi, This Is Flume, which is basically Flume as a Spotify ad. It just keeps layering and layering and layering and layering. It's probably one of my favorite beginnings to a mixtape I've heard. See, Logic, this is how you begin a mixtape. Not with a Rick and Morty skit. Next track I'd like to really talk about is High Beams. Slow Thigh dominates it again. I've already talked about it, you know, putting the chair on the bed. I'll just play the clip again. The drop on the track just sounds super nice and chilled out. It's just such a nice break from Slow Thigh's aggressive superpower actually going to shake your living room. He's going to destroy everything in your path. He will not stop at anything. I am an actual sucker for UK hip-hop, and this is proof, bona fide proof, that I am a sucker for UK hip-hop. And I find it funny I'm saying that, despite the fact the only Dizzy Rascal album I've listened to is the 5th, and that was probably his worst album yet. Sorry, I just went on a little rant there. You get the point. Moving on. Jewel. Jewel is definitely one of my favorite tracks on this album. It's very adventurous despite having the same hook. It's very dreamy, chilled out, such a nice listen. How to Build a Relationship, I'm going to go over this part again because there is a lot more I want to go over. It's definitely one of the more personality-filled tracks on this album. Like, Peggy and Flume, they just work so well together. Like, their personality just shines, both of them. Like, they both had so much fun making this, I can tell. But then you get to the middle section and it's just like a super low-pass beat with JPEG spitting bars, you know, going at it. The WONKY production on this track just complements him so well. Yeah, it's fire. Mud. This track actually used to be one of my least favorites, but it's just really quickly grown on me. Wanna know why? Play the song. You hear that vocal sample? Now that's what I'm talking about. I don't know, it's just so sweet, just so beautiful. The glitched out synths was kind of what put me off from the track first, but they've just really grown on me, like da 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 da. Mud's actually kind of what leads to one of my favorite parts of the album. Not really my favorite parts, but, you know, a part I'd like to really discuss, the medley at the end. Kind of reminds me of the Abbey Road medley, except, you know, Flume. First you got the song Upgrade, which is like this ultra distorted 8-bit sounding melody. Diddle 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 dun. Yeah, yeah. Diddle 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 dun. 7, 1, and 3, not the most adventurous track on the album, but the vocal sample is just very trippy and it just really puts you in a trance. Looks much better in context of the album. Like, I love the tracks on this, including the Sophie remix, by the way. All these tracks just work much better as a full listen. I'll get onto that. 7, 1, and 3 then transitions into Vitality, just such a great transition. It's a very addicting melody. Yeah, it's as if it was made on a launch pad. Like, you know, I've watched John Bellion's, you know, making of videos where he uses a launch pad to create these beats. I can just imagine that, you know. Dun 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 dun. My only problem with the track is the pacing and structure is very awkward. You know, it's all over the place. some of the sounds just come and go. It's a little bit awkward in terms of structure, but as an actual track, it's pretty damn epic. Daze 22.0 kind of reminds me of Midnight City by M83. Dun 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 dun. As if it sampled that or something. It's just a very chilled out track. I really like the main part of the hook where it then descends into like a very trip hop beat. It's pretty neat. Amber is probably my least favorite track on this album. Like, I've listened to it a bunch of times and I cannot for the life of me remember a single thing from it. It's very forgettable. Moving on, then that takes us into Spring, which is a very adventurous and nice ending to the album. Just brings everything together, and while I think it's a little bit long-winded, apart from that, I think it's pretty neat. Now I'm just gonna get into a few negatives I have of the album. I don't have too many, but, you know, I'm just gonna go over a few things I think I might as well say about it. I think some tracks in this album could have been fleshed out a little bit more, especially the second half. You know, some sounds just don't get enough time to develop, especially Vitality, where all the sounds just kind of come and go. And the album structure, too, can be really all over the place. Like, there are only, like, a few tracks on here that have featured artists, and I think it could have benefited a little bit more by having some more. Or by that I mean, like, you know, adding a new twist on the album every now and then, kind of like How to Build a Relationship did. That was such a nice twist to the album that I love so much. Maybe somewhere in the second half, it could just completely toss and turn inside and just have a completely new side to it. Anyway, in conclusion, people are either gonna love this album or find it mediocre. I can definitely see that, but I've already said it, I'm a sucker for this sound. This album just allows Flume to be so much more experimental than he has been on past projects. Free from the boundaries of the mainstream, free to just do whatever the hell he wants. And it shows. This album just shows so much personality. It's clear that he had a lot of fun making this. I certainly would too if I knew how to make this type of stuff. It's a great mixtape. I think some really cool ideas could have been executed better, however, but as a full listening experience, this really takes the cake. You should all go listen to this. If you're a fan of, I don't know, wonky music, this is the mixtape for you. This is probably the only wonky album I've listened to. Do not trust me as a reliable reviewer. That's why I put quotation marks in my Critic name, but stupid old YouTube won't allow me to do that. So anyway, the score for this album is an 8.6 out of 10. Thank you for watching.